Okay, let's just jump right in. Welcome to the deep dive, the place where we take these incredible culinary sources, we break them down and give you the absolute best insights into, well, the functional architecture of flavor.
And today, the material we're looking at, it's not just a list of recipes. I mean, it's more like a foundational text on applied flavor chemistry.
Right.
It gives you this almost anthropological view of how kitchens all over the world manipulate basic things, fat, acid, starch, heat, to create, everything from the deepest, richest barbecue sauce to the most delicate emulsions.
So our mission for you listening is to basically move through this huge alphabetical list. We're starting with Accio and we're going all the way through to, I think, Bobby's chili sauce. And
Yeah.
we're not just reading ingredients. We're going to compare them really meticulously and look for those aha moments. We want to understand the why. Why does one tiny change, a swap in ingredient or temperature, create a totally different experience?
And the framework here is, it's got to be technical.
Hmm.
We need to understand the role of, say, specific chiles. Are they structural? Are they just for acid?
Hmm.
We have to analyze how different dairy types affect stability in an emulsion.
Okay.
And critically, we have to compare something like high-heat starch gelatinization versus a low-heat fat reduction. This material, it really forces you to think of sauce making as well as engineering.
And the source material just lays out this engineering schematic so beautifully. It starts right with the A's, giving us two really deeply layered preparations that rely so heavily on heat and time.
Exactly.
So right out of the gate, we hit these complex multi-stage preparations. First up is the Acciaietti marinade and barbecue sauce for beef. And this is clearly designed as a slow burn flavor delivery system.
It immediately sets a really high technical bar.
Yeah.
And that's because it splits its flavor components very deliberately. You've got this robust acid base, 1 whole cup of red wine vinegar.
That's a lot.
It is, and it's crucial for protein denaturation. That's what's tenderizing those thin sirloin slices. But then it's tempered by a 1/4 cup of olive oil, which acts as the main flavor carrier.
So the oil helps the fat-soluble compounds get into the meat fibers.
Exactly, during that long marination.
The spice component feels pretty earthy. 2 teaspoons of ground cumin, 1 of crushed red pepper. But the real star is obviously the 4 tablespoons of achiote paste. That's for the color and that unique sort of peppery flavor, right?
Right, and crucially, the recipe also calls for a very specific dry chili, the pasilla. And it needs a preliminary soak in a cup of boiled water.
Okay, so what does that tell you?
That suggests the pasilla is being used less for, raw heat and more for its deep, kind of dried fruit flavor profile.
The instructions here really clarify that sophisticated functional layering you were talking about. The first marinade, the initial one, uses the vinegar, the oil, cumin, garlic, crushed pepper, and only half of the achiote paste.
Only half.
And that's what's used to toss the beef. Then it specifies refrigeration for 6 to 8 hours, or even longer. So this isn't just about flavor penetration, as they say. This is about giving the acid time to actually start breaking down connective tissue.
It is. It's a chemical process.
But it seems a little counterintuitive to split the accio like that. I mean, if the goal is deep flavor, wouldn't you want to add all the paste right into the marinade from the start?
Well,
Why hold back the best part, the rest of the accio and the pasilla, until very end?
but that's the architectural genius of this recipe. The first stage, that internal marinade, it's highly acidic. It's designed to get in there and tenderize the meat, give it that foundational, slightly tart flavor.
Okay.
But the pasilla, that needs to be reconstituted and, well, purified. You have to discard the seeds. The final sauce is built after the marinating using the reserved marinade liquid.
The stuff the beef was soaking in.
Yes, the flavor residue from the soak. And you combine that with the pureed pasilla and the rest of the accio paste and oil.
Wait, so, let me get this straight. The internal flavor is mostly acidic and earthy, while the external color, the spice, the really deep smoky notes from the pasilla, that's all applied just through basting while it's broiling.
Precisely. That puree, thinned out with the used marinade, that's what you brush onto the skewered meat multiple times. This technique ensures that the delicate volatile compounds in the pasilla and the achiote aren't lost or oxidized during that long time in the fridge.
Ah, so it's fresh.
It provides a fresh, intense flavor and that brilliant color right at the moment you eat it. It's flavor layering 101. You have an internal foundation and an external finish.
Okay, moving on, we get the adobo sauce, and this provides a really fascinating technical contrast. It's all about chili concentration and preparation time, prioritizing depth over that acidity we just saw.
The adobo completely shifts the focus to the chili itself. Where the Accio recipe used one pasilla almost as an accessory, this adobo uses a massive 12 pieces of anchochiles wiped clean. That suggests a far deeper foundational base. Anchias are part of the Capsicum annuum family. They're milder than pastillas, but they're prized for their inherent dark, fruity, almost smoky characteristics.
And the liquid base really supports that long foundational process. 4 cups of chicken stock, 2 cups of water, and only a half cup of white vinegar. That's a much lower acid ratio than the Accio marinade.
And you've got this heavy incorporation of sweetened citrus notes, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, plus a quarter cup each of orange and lemon juice, and then 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. All of this suggests a sauce that's designed for a long life, balancing the powerful, earthy bitterness of the chiles with sweetness and the richness from the stock.
The technical instruction here seems absolutely key. It says you have to toast the chiles on an iron cast skillet until they're brown and soft, and you have to stir constantly so they don't burn. That toasting step is vital for depth, isn't it?
We're not just unlocking essential oils here. We are promoting the Maillard reaction on the skins of the chiles.
The same thing that gives a steak its crust.
Exactly. It's a reaction between amino acids and reducing sugars, and it creates these complex, smoky pyrazine compounds and melanoidins. It gives the sauce that intensely foundational, almost chocolatey darkness. This is why adobo develops that signature deep, smoky flavor, which is so distinct from the brighter, earthier Accio paste.
Then those toasted chiles get boiled and simmered with water and vinegar for about 10 minutes just to soften up the tough outer skins.
Yes, and then they're processed until a smooth paste forms. That paste is the bedrock. The second stage of cooking starts with heating a quarter cup of olive oil to saute 2 medium-sliced onions until they're golden. And it specifies that long 8 to 10 minute window for caramelization, which is critical. Then you add 5 medium-sliced garlic cloves and a tablespoon of ground cumin for just a minute to bloom the spices.
And here's the moment of synthesis. Adding that reserved chili paste back into the sautéed aromatics along with the 4 cups of chicken stock, bringing it to a boil, and then simmering for 20 minutes.
That initial 20-minute simmer lets the stock bind with the fats and the solids in that chili paste. You're getting a deep integration of flavor. Finally, you incorporate the citrus, the brown sugar, the tomato paste, and simmer for a final 15 minutes.
So a total simmer time of 35 minutes, and that's not even including the time it took to make the paste.
Right. So what this first part teaches us is the fundamental architecture of heat and acidity. You either use low-volume, high-concentration chiles, like in the ancho paste, that rely on their own body for a thickness and a long simmer. Or you use a complex acid base, like in the acciati, that relies on specific timing and external basting to achieve its flavor and texture.
It's a really wonderful pivot point. We're moving from the architecture of heat and time to the delicate science of fat and mechanical force.
Right.
So we move now from those slow-cooked chiles to the world of fats and emulsions. In part 1, we were asking heat to define the texture. Now we're asking mechanical force and stabilizing molecules to do the work. Let's start with Agliata per pasta, which looks like a historical or maybe a regional oddity for a pasta sauce.
It is structurally fascinating. It achieves this dense, clingy texture without relying on dairy or high-fat cream or even conventional flour. The base components are 2 slices of stale bread, crusts removed, soaked in just 2 tablespoons of warm stock, and then squeezed.
So that damp, starchy binder is immediately combined with a whole cup of toasted walnuts.
Exactly. So you have a nut and bread paste base. It's essentially a starch and protein matrix, and it's flavored intensely by 3 medium chopped garlic cloves, a half cup of fresh parsley, and seasoning.
The crucial step, which seems to make this function like an emulsion, is the gradual incorporation of 6 tablespoons of olive oil while it's all processing. This creates a thick paste.
And the starch from the bread and the pulverized protein from the walnuts, they act as the stabilizing colloid. They surround and suspend the oil droplets. It's a non-traditional mechanical emulsion, and it results in this dense, rich texture that just clings stubbornly to pasta. It's a really simple, rustic solution to viscosity.
Speaking of stable emulsions, we move to a classic aioli. And we have 2 different approaches to the aioli sauce garlic mayonnaise, showing how equipment and small ingredient changes can really affect stability.
Right, the first approach, version 1, is the fast-track high-speed method. Very minimal ingredients. 5 medium garlic cloves, 1 room temperature egg, 1 cup of olive oil, and a tablespoon of lemon juice. The reliance here is entirely on speed.
The method is crush the garlic, add the egg, blend for 15 seconds, and then, this is the critical part, gradually add that cup of oil while blending continuously.
And that high shear force from the blender, it breaks the fat into microscopic droplets so incredibly quickly. It overwhelms the liquid phase, and it forces the egg's lecithin to form a stable wall around the oil.
Okay, so now contrast this with aioli sauce version 2. This is the classic manual technique, and it uses specific stabilizers. It requires 2 separated eggs, so yolks only, 5 crushed garlic cloves, 1 tablespoon of prepared mustard, lemon juice, and 3/4 of a cup of olive oil.
hmm
So why the separation, and why the mustard?
Well, separating the yolk gives you a significantly higher concentration of lecithin. That's the primary phospholipid emulsifying agent, so you're ensuring maximum stability. And the prepared mustard provides two things: a mild acid, like vinegar or citric acid, which aids the process, and also mustard's own natural gum and protein stabilizers.
And the process is much slower.
Much slower. You're whisking the yolks, garlic, and mustard, then gradually adding half the oil, whisking continuously, then you add the juice and the rest of the oil. This gradual process manages the heat from friction, and it allows the lecithin time to coat the oil droplets manually.
The comparison is really profound. Version 1 relies on overwhelming mechanical force and speed. Version 2 relies on chemical concentration, the lecithin, and chemical support from the mustard stabilizers, all managed by low, continuous human effort.
And that attention to stability is exactly what guides us into the Alfredo segment, which is just a masterclass in simulating texture. We have 6 versions, ranging from maximum richness to maximum dietary adaptation.
The Alfredo sauce, heavy cream. This is the traditional benchmark, right? It's a study in fat content and temperature control. 4 cups of whipping cream, 2 tablespoons of butter, flavored with onion, parmesan, and freshly grated nutmeg.
The process is gentle. Sauté the onion, add the cream, stir constantly till it boils, then reduce the heat and simmer, covered for half an hour. That long, gentle simmer is essential for concentrating the cream. You're reducing the water content and allowing the fat globules to pack tightly, creating what we call melt viscosity. The sauce thickens primarily through reduction and just the structure of high-fat dairy.
The Alfredo sauce light cream on the next page already starts to cut corners. It uses only half a cup of light cream and half a cup of butter. The instruction emphasizes melting them gently, adding cheese, and reducing the heat.
Right. The lower fat content means less simmering is required because the viscosity is naturally going to be less intense. The goal is just a homogeneous mix before that fat and water ratio breaks.
Then we hit the major pivot, the dietary adaptations, where functional chemistry really replaces high-fat dairy. The Alfredo sauce, low-fat, uses 1 cup of skimmed milk and a half cup of low-fat cottage cheese curd.
Huge change.
So to get that creamy thickness without fat, the recipe uses 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. And the method says you have to blend the skim milk, cottage cheese, cornstarch, and cheese in a processor until it's smooth before you even cook it.
This is a radical structural shift. We are no longer relying on fat viscosity. We are relying on starch gelatinization. The pureed cottage cheese simulates the texture of cooked dairy solids, but the cornstarch is the primary thickener, and it's activated by heating the mixture above moderate heat until it's smooth. This is so different from the next versions.
The Alfredo sauce over fettuccine goes even further. It uses skim evaporated milk and, this is interesting, a 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast as a substitute for that savory umami note you usually get from a ton of aged Parmesan.
The technique here is also fascinating. You have aromatics garlic, red bell pepper, green onions sautéed with dry white wine, a quick deglazing for just 1 minute.
Okay.
The wine introduces acid and volatile aromatics early. Then 1 tablespoon of flour is added to form a quick, loose roux before the skim milk and herbs go in. And the mixture has to boil for 3 to 5 minutes until it's thick. The flour is the thickener here. It requires that high heat to gelatinize. And the lack of butter means this isn't a traditional roux, but more of a quick slurry built around the sautéed vegetable liquids.
We've got 2 more low-fat versions before we circle back to richness. Alfredo sauce version 1 returns to that cottage cheese curd base, 1½ cups, blended smooth with garlic, and 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour.
The technique is similar to the other low-fat version, but the instruction is critical. Cook till thick, with the explicit warning, don't boil the mixture.
And why is that?
Because while the flour needs heat, the pureed cottage cheese proteins, the casein, they're sensitive to high temperatures in that kind of acid or low-fat environment. They can seize or curdle, and you get a grainy texture. So you're managing the thickener, the flour, while protecting the structural agent, which is the cottage cheese protein.
And the commitment to non-fat continues with Alfredo sauce version 2, which introduces arrowroot starch.
Arrowroot is an incredibly potent thickener. It often yields a glossier, clearer sauce than cornstarch or flour, but it's also much more sensitive to temperature and shearing forces. This one uses 4 cups of non-fat milk, a cup of non-fat mozzarella, and an arrowroot slurry.
How is that one put together?
After the milk boils, the slurry is added to thicken it, simmering for only 2 minutes. The speed is all dictated by the arrowroot's thickening power.
So the contrast is really clear. The cornstarch versions rely on blending the cheese and starch cold, then cooking. The arrowroot version needs the milk to boil first, then the starch thickens rapidly, and finally, the non-fat mozzarella is blended in off the heat.
The functional contrast between all 6 is profound. The traditional versions rely on melt viscosity and gentle treatment of dairy fat. The diet versions rely on starch gelatinization, cornstarch, flour, arrowroot, which requires higher heat and very careful handling of low-fat proteins. This whole section teaches us that creamy isn't a single flavor profile. It's a structural mandate that can be achieved through radically different chemical means.
It's an incredible insight into how kitchens, when they're faced with dietary constraints, essentially reinvented the physical chemistry of making a sauce.
Also,
So we transition now from the delicate science of dairy emulation to the bold, expansive world of barbecue. And just like with Alfredo, the definition of barbecue sauce is just this massive spectrum, defined by its primary acid and its sugar carriers.
absolutely. And the first few show immediate differences. The all-purpose barbecue sauce is a raw mix. It's designed for marinating and basting, and it emphasizes wine or liquor as the flavor carrier. A quarter cup of salad oil, a quarter cup of bourbon or sherry or wine, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, garlic powder, and pepper. It's thin, and it relies on alcohol and fat to carry flavor into the meat.
And you contrast that immediately with the all-American barbecue sauce, which leans hard into acid and speed.
1 cup of cider vinegar just dominates this one, along with brown sugar, Worcestershire, Tabasco, and chili powder. But the most striking thing is the cooking method. It highlights microwave preparation.
The microwave.
Yeah, the onions are softened, and then all the ingredients are mixed and microwaved for 10 to 12 minutes. This speeds up the flavor integration immensely. You're using thermal energy from the microwave to quickly marry the acid and sugar without needing a long reduction time. It's a fast, tangy sauce.
And then the all-time favorite barbecue sauce shows a third base entirely. 1 cup of condensed tomato soup.
Right.
The condensed soup acts as a pre-thickened, flavorful, slightly sweet tomato base that needs minimal cooking. It's just combined with vinegar, oil, brown sugar, and hot sauce, and used for basting.
Now, can we address the persistent question in these recipes? The use of cup or ketchup. We see it over and over. Is this just historical semantics, or is the text hinting at some kind of distinction, maybe a difference in vinegar or spice content that marked a regional-based product?
You know, given the context where so many of these recipes rely on this base ingredient, it feels like the author is referencing a specific, maybe historical type of heavily sweetened vinegary tomato base, something distinct from the standardized ketchup we know today. But regardless of the term, the functional role is the same: a standardized, thick tomato delivery system.
Let's look at a specific application of that. Baked spare ribs with barbecue sauce. The technique here shows how a sauce is engineered to survive high-heat cooking.
The sauce ingredients are a sophisticated blend of sweet, savory, and fresh aromatics. A cup of butter, lemon juice, honey, and then 1 teaspoon of grated fresh ginger, half a teaspoon of chopped garlic, and 1 teaspoon of ground coriander. The fresh ginger and coriander really elevate it beyond a standard sugar and spice mix.
The preparation notes are critical because the sauce is applied very strategically. The spare ribs are parboiled for 2 minutes.
They get rid of impurities and sort of tighten up the surface.
Exactly. Then they're seasoned and baked at a high heat, 425 degrees Fahrenheit, for 30 minutes to brown nicely before any sauce is applied.
Okay, so why the delay in application?
Well, the sauce has high amounts of sugar, cup, and honey. If you applied it too early, the sugars would caramelize very quickly and then just burn, leading to acrid flavors and a tough crust. The sauce is boiled separately, then brushed onto the ribs only for the final 25 to 30 minutes of cooking. This controls the caramelization process, so you get a sticky glaze without incineration.
Now, we've faced the 6 individual versions of barbecue sauce, which just demonstrate the absolute diversity of this category.
Version 1 is a balanced tomato sauce base. 16 ounces of tomato sauce, balanced with vinegar, brown sugar, Worcestershire, classic powdered spices, simmered for a quick 15 minutes. It's a good standard profile, the workhorse of the BBQ world.
But then version 2 is all about deep, dark flavor and a commitment to time. It uses 12 ounces of sugar, and critically 2 tablespoons of molasses. and the instruction is to simmer without a cover for a full 60 minutes.
That hour of uncovered simmering is designed for intense reduction. Molasses isn't just sugar. It's a byproduct of sugar refinement, containing non-sugar solids and minerals that contribute these deep, earthy, slightly bitter notes. Reducing this for a full hour concentrates those flavors significantly, creating a thick, smoky, almost varnish-like glaze.
Version 3 is a true kitchen sink sauce. It's heavy on aromatics and liquids. 3 cups of chopped onions, a cup of sweet pepper, garlic. The liquids include 2 cups of cup, a significant 1 cup of dry white wine, vinegar, Leah and Perrins, honey and liquid smoke, along with dried mint and parsley.
And this one has a very unique instruction. Bring it to a boil, then cook on low heat with a cover.
Why cover a BBQ sauce?
Because the goal here isn't massive reduction, it's moisture retention. By cooking it covered, the vegetables, all 3 cups of onions, soften fully, and the large volume of aromatics infuse the liquid base deeply without boiling off the volatile wine and herb notes.
Version 4 swings back to a leaner, vinegar-heavy profile. It's 2 cups of tomato juice, a cup of water, ketchup, and a ½ cup of cider vinegar. It includes 2 bay leaves, which you discard, and simmers for 30 minutes. The high liquid content and significant cider vinegar make this tangier, closer to a Carolina-style base, which is a huge contrast to the rich, thick molasses of version 2.
And then we get to version 5. This is the masterpiece of engineered texture in this entire group. It moves beyond flavor layering into structural enhancement, defined by these non-traditional textural ingredients. ½ pound of minced bacon and 3/4 cup of roasted and chopped dry pecans.
Wait, bacon and pecans in a BBQ sauce.
Exactly. And the liquids are incredible. Cork stock, chili sauce, honey, plus the orange rind and pulp and lemon rind and pulp includes Tabasco and a hefty spice blend.
The technique must be pretty involved.
It demands commitment. First, you fry the bacon until it's crisp, using its rendered fat. Then, the onions are cooked in that bacon fat for 8 to 10 minutes until they turn dark brown. This isn't just softening. This is creating a deep foundational caramelized flavor, maximizing those Maillard products.
The stock, liquids, citrus, pecans, and chili sauce go in, but the finishing touch is the key. You cool the mixture for 30 minutes, then pour it into a blender and process it for just 10 to 15 seconds until the bacon and pecans are finely chopped.
That blending step is not incidental. It's an act of engineering. It turns the simmered sauce into an engineered, textured slurry. The blending process releases the remaining rendered bacon fat and the oils from the pecans, forcing them into this loose, heterogeneous emulsion with a tomato and stock base. The finely chopped solids then suspend themselves in this matrix, contributing a profound viscosity and a unique, rich mouthfeel that a simple simmered sauce could never achieve.
Finally, version 6 is a quick, simple return to basics. Ketchup, water, oil, onions, lemon juice, Worcestershire, sugar, mustard, simmered for 15 minutes. It's a fast assembly, just demonstrating that BBQ doesn't always need deep reduction or complex textures.
In summarizing the BBQ group, we've seen the entire spectrum, from thin, vinegar-forward styles to deep reduction in version 2, culminating in the incredible richness and texture achieved by using bacon fat, pecans, and citrus pulp as structural components in version 5.
It really highlights the fundamental question these sources answer. Is a sauce a quick garnish, or is it a 3-hour culinary foundation? And this collection treats both roles with equal seriousness.
It does.
Let's transition into specialized sauces, focusing first on less common preparations for pasta that really challenge that traditional red sauce structure, and then look at the dynamic role of fruit.
The pasta sauces show so much ingenuity in achieving texture. Take the uncommon pasta sauce. Its tomato base is sun-dried, which provides a high concentration of glutamate umami, but they're specifically not oil-packed. 3 ounces of halved, sun-dried tomatoes are soaked in 3 cups of boiling water for just a short time.
And this technique rapidly reconstitutes them without adding external oil or the flavor from a soaking oil. Aromatics are sautéed, and then the process says to set aside 1/3 of the tomatoes and puree the rest of the tomato, water, and garlic mixture.
Pureeing most of the mixture while retaining some of the chopped pieces gives you a rustic yet deep tomato flavor and body. This is a very clean sauce. It's relying on the natural thickening power of the tomato solids themselves, which are intensified by the drying process rather than relying on flour or heavy fats. It's a pure expression of the tomato.
Now contrast that with Anne's quick spaghetti sauce, which prioritizes speed and convenience through the crock pot. It's a heavy meat sauce, a pound of ground lean beef combined with 6 crushed garlic cloves and 4 cups of tomato sauce, or a 30-ounce jar of prepared spaghetti sauce plus white wine.
After browning and draining the beef, everything just goes into the crock pot and simmers for only 30 minutes. This is our reliance on pre-made flavor structure. That short simmer time means the primary role of the cooking is to infuse the fresh aromatics, the onion and fresh garlic, into the jarred tomato base rather than building the sauce from scratch.
The basic spaghetti sauce is even quicker. Garlic and onions are sautéed for about 2 minutes. Then tomato sauce, red wine, green pepper, basil, and oregano are added, boiled with a cover and simmered for a mere 5 minutes.
It's a flash sauce.
Truly. It's designed to be ready almost immediately after the pasta is cooked.
And then, the basil ricotta sauce is the ultimate structural deviation, a non-cooked cold preparation. The base is 15 ounces of part-skin ricotta combined with fresh chopped basil, sliced green onions, and diced roasted red peppers. It's thinned with chicken broth, olive oil, and white wine.
The simplicity is key here. It requires no heat, relying on the quality of the fresh basil and roasted red peppers for its vibrancy. The ricotta itself provides all the necessary viscosity through its inherent high-protein, slightly granular texture, creating a cold, clingy sauce base that feels substantial without ever having touched a burner.
And if you compare these, you see the architectural shift. You go from the non-traditional mechanical thickening of agliata with bread and nuts to the reliance on pure tomato solids in the uncommon sauce, all the way to the high-protein viscosity of the cold ricotta. It shows that sauce texture isn't limited by cooking.
Let's look at how fruit plays multiple roles, starting with apple and apricot sauces. The apple and raisin sauce is a pure dessert product. Applesauce, apple butter, maple syrup, and raisins simply simmer till it bubbles.
But then, apples migrate directly into the savory realm with the apple BBQ sauce. This uses a ketchup base, apple juice, and apple cider vinegar. But the crucial ingredient is the inclusion of grated apple, about 1/3 of a cup, plus grated onion and grated green pepper. The grated fruit acts as both a sweetener and a pectin-rich natural thickener.
And the instruction here highlights a really complex layering of flavor steps. A separate dry rub is applied first. During cooking, the meat is basted with 1/2 cup of apple juice. This maintains moisture and prevents the sugar in the rub from burning. Then the final sauce, which is simmered for 15 minutes, is applied only in the final 15 minutes of cooking.
This three-stage process, dry rub, moisture-based, late sugar, and fruit sauce, is essential to control the sugars. It ensures the apple flavor is delivered as a finishing note, and that the pectin from the grated apple contributes maximum structure to the glaze without turning into a burnt mass.
We even have a recipe for applesauce standalone itself for making the core ingredient. And the recipe specifies Gravenstein apples, which are historically known for their quick cooking time and great balance of sweet and tart, perfect for sauce making.
The process emphasizes cooking the cord, peeled apples with 1/2 cup of water over gentle heat until they're soft, then gradually adding sugar and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. The final step is removing from heat, then adding 1 tablespoon of grated lemon zest before mashing. That late addition of fresh zest is critical.
Because the volatile aromatic compounds in the zest would be destroyed by long cooking.
Exactly. It ensures a bright, tart flavor profile.
Moving to apricots, we have 3 radically different sauces demonstrating the fruit's versatility. The apricot horseradish sauce is a pure sweet and spicy contrast, a perfect condiment. 2/3 cup of apricot preserves, 1/3 cup of prepared horseradish and lime juice.
That ratio of 2-to-1 preserves to horseradish is deliberate. The apricot acts as a highly viscous high-sugar carrier, ensuring the intense, volatile pungency of the horseradish, the isothiocyanates, is mellowed by the sweetness. It creates that classic hot and sweet profile, simply whisked smooth and served.
Then the apricot sauce is a dessert sauce with liquor, which requires specific heat management for flavor retention. Dried apricots are soaked and simmered in apple juice for 30 minutes, uncovered, saving the liquid.
The complexity builds when the thickening agents, cornstarch, ginger, and cinnamon, are combined with orange juice and honey and cooked till slightly thick. Once it's removed from the heat, 1 tablespoon of sweet vermouth, the chopped apricots, and the reserved liquid are added.
And the vermouth has to go in after the heat is off.
Precisely, to preserve its delicate aromatic complexity which would otherwise just boil off.
Finally, the apricot balsamic sauce is a simple savory accompaniment, combining apricot jam, balsamic vinegar, soy sauce, and orange zest.
This shows a rapid, no-cook complexity building. The deep, acidic balsamic cuts the overwhelming sweetness of the jam, while the soy sauce adds that powerful dimension of umami depth. This simple combination creates a savory glaze base with minimal effort, using the high viscosity of the jam for structure.
Our final segment brings us to sauces defined by their sharp flavor profiles, chile and herbs, and how dairy is used strategically as an enriching and stabilizing element, ending on a foundational preservation recipe.
Let's start with pure chili architecture. The ancho sauce on page 24 relies entirely on the body of 12 dried ancho chilies. Stems and seeds are removed under running water, and the pieces soak for 1 hour in boiling water.
The soaked, strained chiles reserving the liquid are blended with aromatics. Chopped tomatoes peeled and seeded to avoid bitterness, garlic, cumin, turmeric, and oregano.
This creates a deep, earthy paste. And the key is that this paste is then boiled in a saucepan with 1 cup of the saved liquid for 10 to 15 minutes until it's thick. The thickness relies solely on the pulverized cell walls and skins of the ancho chili itself, not flour or cornstarch. It's an incredibly pure, high-viscosity chili concentration.
Then we get the surprisingly creamy heat of the avocado hot sauce. This is a quick, raw puree that uses a high-fat fruit for its structure. It combines up to a cup of stemmed, seeded, and chopped serrano chiles, Tabasco, 2 ripe avocados, garlic, and onion.
The avocado fat and solids provide the thick, natural emulsified base. It essentially acts as a neutral binder, absorbing and softening the sharp, volatile heat of the raw serranos and Tabasco, creating a stable, creamy green texture that provides a cooling contrast to the intensity of the chiles.
The Bad Attitude Barbecue sauce definitely lives up to its name with intense flavor layering. It features 8 finely chalked canned chipotles in adobo sauce. The base liquids include cup, beer Oktoberfest or Bach malt vinegar, Worcestershire, and yellow mustard.
The inclusion of beer provides fermentation notes and depth, and the malt vinegar provides a distinctive, slightly sharper, less fruity acid profile compared to cider or white vinegar. It all contributes to that bad attitude profile. The sauce is brought to a gentle boil, then reduced and simmered till it thickens, relying on the cup and reduction for viscosity.
For a classic chili flavor built on a starch foundation, we have the basic red chili sauce. This staple uses 8 dried red chiles boiled and allowed to stand for 10 to 15 minutes, then processed until the skins are finely chopped and strained.
And the sauce base is built using a roux. 2 tablespoons of veggie oil combined with 2 tablespoons of flour, sautéed over low heat for 2 minutes. This roux is a structural necessity. It works by effectively encapsulating the starch granules in fat so they can hydrate uniformly when the liquid is added.
And this fat encapsulation is vital because
the chili liquid is acidic due to the cider vinegar and the natural pH of the chiles. Starch added directly to hot acid will clump instantly, and it will struggle to gelatinize correctly. By coating the starch in fat via the roux, we prevent clumping and allow the starch to hydrate and thicken smoothly when it's simmering for the final 15 to 20 minutes.
a slightly different but related dish is the basic red sauce, which is ancho-based again, softened in warmed water for 30 minutes. After draining, the chile's membranes and stems are removed, reducing potential bitterness.
This sauce also uses a tomato base, 8 ounces of tomato sauce, along with 2 cups of reserve liquid. After cooking the aromatics, the mixture simmers for 20 minutes, is cooled, and then processed. That cooling and blending step ensures a smoother, more refined final texture, which aids its longer shelf life of up to 10 days.
The beef with hot sauce recipe shows a sauce built around a slow-cooked meat base. Shredded chuck roast is cooked for 2.5 to 3 hours until it's tender.
The sauce ketchup, taco hot sauce, brown sugar, vinegar, garlic, bay leaf, dry mustard, chili powder is added after the beef is shredded and returned to the pan. The instruction details cooking gently for 1 hour. That long, gentle simmer ensures the shredded beef absorbs the hot, sweet, acidic sauce fully, maximizing its moisture retention and flavor delivery for serving on buns.
Okay, now for the fresh, creamy, and herbal finishes, starting with the basic green sauce. This is complex. It combines half a pound of coarsely chopped tomatillos for acidity, 4 ounces of chopped green chiles for heat, and 10 ounces of chopped spinach for color and body.
After cooking the aromatics, onions, garlic, oregano, chiles, spinach, tomatillos in oil for about 5 minutes, the mixture is processed until smooth. It returns to the pan with a cup of chicken stock, simmers for 10 minutes, and then the critical dairy element, 2 cups of dairy sour cream, is added.
And the sour cream is added late, specifically after the mixture has been removed from the heat and is cooling, right?
Absolutely vital. Dairy sour cream is highly sensitive to acid and high heat. If you added it while that tomatillo and chili base was boiling, the sour cream proteins, the casein, would rapidly coagulate and curdle. You'd get a grainy, broken sauce. Adding it late and cool stabilizes the sauce, relying on the sour cream's inherent fat and protein structure to maintain the emulsion and provide richness and tang.
The basil sauce is an extremely sophisticated French-style sauce, a variation of beurre blanc which requires precise temperature control. It starts with a heavy reduction base: shallots, garlic, a cup of Chablis wine, a quarter cup of white wine vinegar, and a cup of clam juice, which all has to be reduced to just a quarter cup over 15 to 20 minutes.
This is an intensely flavored acidic base. The technique shifts dramatically when half a pound of sweet butter, cut into pieces, is gradually whisked in cold over medium heat. The butter must be cold because you are stabilizing a temporary emulsion. The rapid heat shock forces the water and fat within the butter to integrate with that reduced wine and clam base before the butter fat can fully melt and break. This process requires very careful temperature management, ideally maintained below 190 degrees Fahrenheit.
The reduced liquid acts as the continuous phase, and the constant whisking of cold butter pieces prevents the fat from separating, resulting in a luxurious, thick sauce. And the final step is blending the strained mixture with fresh basil, ensuring the basil's fresh, volatile notes are captured in that fat matrix.
For a simply savory cream sauce, we have beef medallions with sour cream sauce. This starts with cooking mushrooms and shallots, deglazing with red wine vinegar and capers, and then stirring in a cup of dairy sour cream to simmer gently.
Again, we see the sour cream used for quick stability, relying on its inherent thickness and tang. Off the heat, the remaining butter is swirled in to melt and enrich the sauce, providing an immediate gloss and increased mouthfeel before serving over the beef, garnished with fresh dill.
We also see the cold dairy application in the blue cheese sauce. A cup of crumbled blue cheese, half a cup of mayonnaise, half a cup of plain yogurt, pepper hot sauce, and pepper. This is a simple mix and stir recipe served cold. It relies on the existing stable emulsion of mayonnaise and the thickness of the yogurt to bind the cheese crumbles, turning it into a stable, high-fat dip.
Finally, we reach Bobby's chili sauce, which closes our deep dive with a large batch, preservation-focused recipe. The vegetable base is massive: 12 cups of tomatoes, celery, onion, and green pepper, all combined with a quarter cup of salt.
The first critical instruction for preservation is highly technical: letting the vegetables and salt stand overnight, then draining them on a colander without pressing down. This is a crucial pre-treatment step utilizing osmosis. The high salt concentration draws out excess moisture through the cell walls of the vegetables.
And why the no pressing down instruction?
That no-press instruction is vital. We want the osmotic pressure to draw out the excess water without crushing the cellular structure. Crushing the cells would release internal pectin, leading to a cloudy or overly thick gummy sauce during the final boil. We want firmness and clean liquid removal.
The acid and sweet balance is achieved with refined sugar, brown sugar, and a cup of white vinegar. The spices are tied up inside a cheesecloth bag for easy removal.
The mixture is boiled, reduced, and simmered for 15 minutes. It is then filled into sterilized jars and processed for 10 minutes. This final processing step, combined with the high acidity from the vinegar and the initial moisture reduction from the salt soak, is essential for long-term safe preservation by reducing the overall water activity and lowering the pH, which inhibits microbial growth.
What an incredible high-speed journey from the earthy two-stage bacilla heat of achiote all the way to the precise preservation chemistry of Bobby's chili sauce.
It truly summarizes the functional depth of this material. We've seen how ingredients like sour cream have to be temperature managed to stabilize a complex green chile sauce, or how ancho chiles are toasted to promote those Maillard reactions, creating depth and color.
And the sheer diversity of solutions to a single problem, like achieving creaminess. You have heavy cream and a slow simmer versus skim milk, arrowroot, and pureed cottage cheese. The differences between whisking aioli yolks with mustard and rapidly blending a whole egg with oil just illustrate how mastery of technique, not just ingredients, is paramount.
And the structural enhancement, particularly in that barbecue sauce version 5, where blending utilized bacon fat and pecan solids to create an engineered, stable, textured slurry, shows that the modern sauce is as much about texture and engineered mouthfeel as it is about simple flavor delivery.
This deep dive gives you a fast track to understanding the architectural elements of flavor construction. Now, you're equipped to look at any sauce, savory or sweet, and quickly assess its likely profile, base, and complexity. Just by observing its primary acid carrier, its thickening agent, be it cornstarch, arrowroot, or rendered bacon fat, and its required cooking time.
And we've seen how common ingredients like applesauce can swing from a sweet dessert accompaniment to a crucial stabilizing and fruity base for BBQ sauce. So consider this provocative thought. We've looked at the complexity required to stabilize fat and starch in these recipes. But what ingredient are you overlooking in your pantry that could anchor your next culinary creation? The one that holds the most structural potential or deepest chemical secrets in its simplest form?
Food for thought indeed. Now go forth and conquer the kitchen and the chemical challenges that await.